Maya Angelou wrote 11 books, won the Presidential Medal of Freedom, is considered one of the greatest writers who ever lived. Yet, she spent most of her career convinced that she was a fraud. Einstein, the man whose name became almost synonymous with genius, described himself as an involuntary swindler, someone who didn't deserve the attention that he received. If those two couldn't escape it, what chance do you have? Here's the thing, you are asking the wrong question, because imposter syndrome isn't an obstacle. For the right person in the right mindset, it's actually an edge. First, let me be clear what I'm actually talking about. Imposter syndrome is the feeling that you haven't really earned what you have, that you got lucky, that sooner or later someone is going to figure out that you don't belong in the room. Psychologist Pauline Clance was the first person to study it formally. She noticed something striking in her therapy sessions. Student after student with high grades, real accomplishment, genuine ability were convinced that they didn't deserve to be at the university. Some of them genuinely believed that their acceptance had been an admissions error. And that's what got her. She recognized it immediately because she felt the exact same way in graduate school. She told herself, this isn't a personal feeling, this is a pattern. And it doesn't discriminate. It shows up across gender, age, race, ethnicity, profession. CEOs feel it, surgeons feel it, award-winning artists feel it. The research is clear. The more accomplished you are, the more you are likely to experience it. So why are we treating it like a problem to fix? Here's what the research actually shows about where imposter syndrome comes from. Highly skilled people tend to assume that everyone around them is equally skilled. They can't see their own exceptionalism because from the inside, it just feels like thinking. It's second nature to them. So they look around, assuming that everyone else is operating at that same level and conclude that this must not be anything special. This is what psychologists call pluralistic ignorance. Everyone privately doubting themselves, everyone assuming they are the only one, nobody is saying it out loud. So the doubt just sits there quietly, making everyone feel alone in something that is almost universal. You are not the only one in the room who feels like they don't belong. You are just one of those ones honest enough to feel it consciously. And that awareness, that self-questioning is not a weakness. It is a sign that you're paying attention, that you have standard, that you care about the quality of the things that you do. So here's the reframe, and I really want you to sit with this. What if imposter syndrome isn't a bug in your system, but a feature? Think about what it's actually doing. It's keeping you sharp. It's stopping you from getting complacent. It's making you double check your work, over prepare for the meeting, take nothing for granted. Every person who has done something genuinely great has had a voice in their head asking them, is this actually good enough? That voice is not your enemy. It is your quality control. And for me, I make sure to use it to the greatest. The alternative of that is total unshakable confidence with zero doubt. And that's great. But what it actually produces, I'm not so sure of. Because people who stop learning assume that they have already arrived. They stop listening because they assume they already know. They confuse loudness with competence and mistake certainty for intelligence. You know people like this, we all do. And they are rarely the ones doing the most interesting work. Your doubt is data, and it means you understand the gap between where you are and where you could be. And that gap, that uncomfortable anxiety-producing gap, is where growth lives. But here is what happens when you don't address imposter syndrome. It actively shrinks your life. It stops you from raising your hand, from applying for that job that you're qualified for, from sharing that idea that you have been sitting on for months. Because what if people realize you don't actually know what you're talking about? But here's what the research says. Intense imposterism causes people to self-select out of opportunities where they would have excelled. So think about what that means in practice. That presentation you refused to give, that business you did not start, that conversation that you did not have. Imposter syndrome convinced you that those things weren't for you. And you believed it. And the gap between where you are now and where you could be got a little wonder. So here is how I actually want you to use imposter syndrome. Start by saying it out loud. This almost sounds embarrassingly simple. But research says that the single most important way to diffuse imposter syndrome is to talk about it. To a mentor, to a peer, to anyone you trust. Because the moment you say it out loud, two things happen. First, you find out you're not alone. Almost always, the person you're talking to has the exact same feeling. Second, the feeling loses its power. Shame lives in silence. Drag it into a conversation and it will shrink. There's a scientist who kept blaming herself every time something went wrong in a lab. Equipment failures, external factors, things Since completely outside her control, she blamed herself for it. So she started documenting. Every time something went wrong, she wrote the actual cause. Over time, the data became undeniable. It was almost never her. It was equipment, it was circumstances, it was the inherent messiness of doing hard things. She had to show herself the evidence before she could believe. So, collect yours. Save the email where someone told you your work changed how they think. Screenshot that feedback that made you feel uncomfortable because it was too positive for you to believe. Build a file, a folder, or a note on your phone for the days when the doubts get loud and you need something real to push back with. And the next time you are sitting in a room thinking you don't belong there, look around. Remind yourself, Angelou felt that same way. Einstein felt that same way. The most accomplished people who have ever lived felt that same way. You are in good company. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already, and see you in the next one. Bye.
The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Numbers 6:24-26.